Hello everyone, welcome to week 12 of IS 688 and web mining. We're going to do some announcements before we get into the week 12 module 6 content on mining data streams. So as I mentioned, announcements. First, be getting your module level assignments in. You want to be starting to do those or get those submitted here in the very near future. We're getting very close to the end of the semester, and you don't want to provide all of the module assignments for me to grade immediately. Hello everyone, welcome to week 12 of IS 688 and web mining. This week we're going to talk about mining data streams in module 6, but as always we have some announcements first. The first one is regarding your module level assignments. You should be getting those in as soon as possible now. We're quickly approaching the end of the semester. You don't want to wait until the very end of the semester to be getting these in. You don't want to be inundating me with a bunch of module assignments to grade at the very end of the semester, so that's going to make me cranky and your grades aren't going to be as high as you might like if I'm having to grade a lot of them very quickly. Related to that, in 2 weeks is your assignment for Module 5 due. So this is the Module 5 assignment on recommendation systems. So you want to be working on that, figuring out how you're going to evaluate your recommendation system, what kind of data do you want to use for your recommendation system, be getting that in. The next gradable thing we have for the class is the semester project. So now we have gone more than halfway through this project. Any content that's been given to me has since been returned with feedback. The next step here is your virtual presentation. This is a 10-minute presentation due in 3 weeks. It's December 8th. You'll give me a link to your presentation and I'll share it with the class, and you'll be evaluated based on the rubric that's in the virtual presentation assignment. So be working on that. And then finally, you'll have your medium report as the final report for your project. This is going to be due on December 22nd. Grades are due on the 23rd, so there's absolutely no opportunity for late work here. You need to get me your medium report on time. So this serves as the course final. Lastly, when we start looking at this module's content, there are 4 main learning objectives. So as I mentioned, module 6 here is processing data streams. The first learning objective here is to understand why exact statistics can be very difficult to calculate when we have a potentially infinite stream of incoming data. So for instance, how might you calculate the median when the data is consistently growing or consistently coming at you with new data? Despite the difficulty that you have in exact statistics, it turns out there are certain metrics and statistics that can be reformed to be amenable to data streams, and the average is one of those. We'll talk about how we can calculate averages of numeric values in the streaming context. And then what we want to talk about is methods for filtering streams using hashing. It's a quick way to do filtering when you may have many streams or large amounts of data. And then the last thing we'll talk about is how to do sampling in data streams and what the caveats are there. So you may think if I just take every 10th message or every 10th item in a stream, that's one way of filtering. And that's true, that does work, but it has important implications for the kinds of questions you can ask about your data. So for instance, if you work in social media data, Twitter very nicely provides several layers of what are called sample streams. They have the public sample stream, which is about 1% of all of tweets. They have the decahose, which is about 10% of all of tweets. But when you are taking measures at the individual message level, when you want to ask questions about different aggregations, so at the user level, for instance, then there starts to be some important interactions between your selection of messaging versus what you can learn about users and user posting patterns when only small portions of user behavior actually get captured in the message level sample. So we'll talk about that too. For next week, though, note next week is Thanksgiving, so we have no content for that week. I will not post new material. Everything for the class will get us through to the week after that. So that gives us to week after next. The main thing, your Module 5 assignment is due. So the Module 5 assignment is about recommendations. So you want to be thinking about what is your recommendation, what are you going to recommend, what kind of data are you going to use, how are you going to evaluate it. You should be documenting that in your medium assignment with the other 4 prior to this one and turning these in sooner rather than later. Also in 2 weeks, we'll have the final module for the course. This is on advertising on the web, module 7. In order to do that material, you need to read sections 8.1 through 8.4. Some of these things you'll have seen before from the recommendation chapter, but note that nicely there are metrics here about how to evaluate whether an advertising campaign on the web is a good one. How do you know that a campaign is proceeding well? There's been a pretty significant change in how the advertising community works on the internet over the past 15 years, so we'll get some good insights there. A week after that, you have the virtual presentation, as I mentioned. So there are 5 things you want to talk about here. Essentially, they align pretty well with the 5 questions you had for your interim report. So you want to try and bring in any feedback you had for your interim report while you're working on your virtual presentation. And then, as I mentioned, 2 weeks after the virtual presentation, you have your final report. So we'll talk more about this next time. But your final report is a 1,500 to 2,000 word document going to Medium with an additional 500 words per student. The idea being the more people you have on your team, the more interesting research you may have done, and the additional kinds of analyses you may have performed. You want to be able to document that. So be working on that, or at least be thinking about this as well. Again, you can expand on your interim report for your final report, but note the expectation is your final report is going to be posted to Medium on the class publication. So if you have any questions about any of that, any of the end of the semester logistics, by all means reach out to me. We are not going to have office hours next Thursday since that would be Thanksgiving, but if you would like to schedule a one-on-one with me next week on Monday or Tuesday, I can support that. If you have any other questions, there's a Module 6 discussion forum as there is for every other module. But if you have any questions, there are many ways to reach out to me. Otherwise, have a good holiday break next week, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.